The final season of The Bad Batch premieres on February 21st, and we finally got a trailer along with the announcement. There was a big surprise at the end that brings with it a lot of questions. Of course, I will be addressing that, so let's get into our first Star Wars trailer breakdown of the year. Everything opens up with a cool chase sequence with Hunter and Wrecker in a turbo tank being pursued by some LAATs. TK troopers hop onto the roof and then get tossed off the side of a cliff. It's all very Indiana Jones, and this series has taken heavy inspiration from Lucasfilm's other big IP over the years. The bright blue paint on Hunter's helmet looks like it's fading, maybe reflecting his mental state after the loss of Tech and Omega. And it's weird to see the Bad Batch as just Hunter and Wrecker. Oh, wait a minute, that's not Wrecker, that's Crosshair. My first couple of watches, my brain was on autopilot and it just saw Wrecker standing there, but that is Crosshair's armor. I guess it's possible someone else could be wearing it, but that seems like a strange choice to me. I think Crosshair will be returning to adventures with his brothers sooner than we might expect, joining them on this turbo tank mission, and they all get some help from Phee Genoa, who returns to save the day and get them out of trouble. There are several familiar faces throughout this trailer. There's a quick shot of a ship approaching Coruscant. It looks like the same kind of research vessel we last saw in the Season 2 episode Metamorphosis, which saw the return of the Zillo Beast. I really doubt there's a Zillo on that ship. At least I hope nobody thinks bringing one back to Coruscant again is a good idea. I think it's probably just how Hemlock is traveling around. Maybe he's bringing something else he wants to show off to the Emperor. The ship goes by an orbital construction platform, which was inspired by a Ralph McQuarrie design for Return of the Jedi. Back then, they were supposed to be under construction Death Stars orbiting Had Abaddon, the original name for Coruscant. All that to say, this is kind of a full circle moment seeing that specific concept floating above the Imperial capital. Rex starts a monologue about how ending the Clone Wars should have meant peace for clones, but he was wrong. And then they show us Tech falling. Again. We also see a flash of what appears to be the Teth Monastery from the Clone Wars movie back in 2008, one of the locations that started it all. I think this series has set itself up very well to wrap up the entire clone story. Obviously, clone characters will continue to appear down the line. There's a living clone trooper all the way down into the sequel era, but the story of clone troopers as a whole is probably coming to an end. Hopefully it doesn't end completely tragically, because Rex refuses to walk away and bury his head in the sand while the Empire goes against everything he thought he was fighting for in the Clone Wars. And he specifically mentions Omega as well, and we get a look at her new character model as she passes by Crosshair in the hall. This was a scene they showed in the trailer at Star Wars Celebration last year. I should point out that from what I remember, this new trailer is almost entirely different, but I do also remember from the Celebration footage there being a brief conversation between Omega and Crosshair where he was insisting that he wasn't like his brothers. I think she'll be looking to him for some support, but he won't be willing to give it, at least not at first, but she'll melt his heart eventually. We see the return of Hemlock, who simply gives an order to secure Omega in a cell. I am so psyched to get back to him. I think he's a fantastic villain, Jimmy Simpson is chilling in the role, and I like him as the next step in terrible Imperials after Rampart. There's a shot of Omega being scanned by some blue lights while she's carrying a giant tablet of some kind. I assume the scan is to make sure she doesn't have any contraband on her. I expect these sensors are going to be an obstacle for her or the Bad Batch to overcome while they break in or out of Mount Tantiss, which, by the way, I'm excited by how much of this trailer takes place there. It makes sense with two major characters imprisoned within it, but they teased us with it so much in the first two seasons. I think we're going to be leading to something big there. Maybe it'll involve Emery, who I kind of forgot about until she popped up in this trailer. In all the craziness of the Season 2 finale, it slipped my mind that she is also a clone and refers to Omega as her sister. I think we remain on Tantiss as Palpatine arrives to walk with Hemlock. He's got some royal guards and a couple clone commandos with him. In fact, there are a lot of clone commandos and TK troops standing nearby. Scorch is the middle clone walking with Palpatine, but the Emperor says, "There is nothing of greater importance to secure the future of this empire. Whatever is needed to accomplish this goal, you will have it." Hopefully we'll find out more about what the purpose of Tantiss is. I assume it has something to do with achieving immortality and producing clones that Sidious can pass his spirit into. That would significantly raise the stakes for destroying the Tantiss facilities. They could suggest that they're close to a breakthrough or something, but then the clones rise up and destroy everything, meaning Palpatine will have to start from scratch on Exegol, and then they won't be able to break the code. That would be a nice through line for the larger Star Wars story that can happen without it stealing the primary focus of the series. We get another look at one of those special clones that we saw in Season 2. I was speculating back then that they could be Phase Zero Dark Troopers, similar to the clones from Star Wars Legends that were forced into that project, but there's a clone in the subtitles later on that's referred to as CX-1, and I'm gonna guess that's who we're looking at. He says, "They are coming for all of you." I have no clue what's going on with him, but I'm excited to learn more. A lot of the next bits are just some fast action sequences, like this absolutely rad shot of the turbo tank blasting out missiles, just awesome. But then we get our first look at Wolf. At this point, I'm gonna guess he's still with the Empire, kinda like Cody was in Season 2. There are clones at his side, a commando taking point, and a TK trooper in the rear. We know his story leads to Star Wars Rebels, where he will be joining Rex and Gregor on the planet Selos. Even though Gregor is known as the kooky one, Wolf seemed like he was a little more damaged and paranoid by what he went through after the rise of the Empire, and he even seemed somewhat trusting of the Empire, like he still had that loyalty drilled into him. I expect his story in this season will end with him on the right side, but he might go through some rough stuff. There are also lots of flashes of returning characters and locations. Fennec Shand will be back, having been missing for all of Season 2. Cad Bane is also making an appearance again. I think Fennec will help break Omega out of Tantiss, seeing as they developed a bond and Nala Se was paying her to keep her safe from the Empire. As for Cad Bane, he'll probably still be an enemy, but I could see this following a similar pattern as Avatar: The Last Airbender, where a lot of allies and enemies that appeared throughout the course of that series will return to help or hinder our heroes. There's one shot of Hunter on Pabu, which makes me so glad. I love that location, and I think it could serve as a safe place for some clones to actually find peace when this entire story is over. I'm happy to know it's still serving as a base of sorts for Hunter and Wrecker, or at least some place they can catch their breath. But hang on, no, actually, we can't have anything nice, because upon some further rewatches of the trailer, I saw some earlier shots of the Empire invading a town, and the arches and the markings on the ground match up with the upper plaza of Pabu. Same with the blue lights, which were used throughout the village. And the shot of CX-1 with a bunch of TK troopers appears to be in that same location. So never mind, the Empire discovers and takes Pabu, and nothing good can last in this show. There's a fast shot of Omega piloting a shuttle, looking dirty and intense. I wonder if she's going to escape Tantiss all on her own, using the lessons her brothers taught her in the first 2 seasons. Piloting was what Tech focused on with her, so this could be a cool moment for her to honor his memory by flying herself to safety. Or maybe this could be an escape attempt with her and Crosshair, and she does something to make sure he gets away. Maybe that will finally push him over the edge, and his heart will grow 3 sizes, and he'll join Hunter and Wrecker in saving her. Because there is another moment later where we can see Wrecker, Hunter, and someone else who's wielding what looks an awful lot like Crosshair's rifle. But the final, jaw-dropping moment of the trailer features the return of Asajj Ventress, and oh man, the internet is already in a tizzy over this. My first reaction was a scream of joy. It's awesome seeing her planned design for Season 7 of the Clone Wars with the hair and the yellow lightsaber. I was working out in the garage when I saw the trailer and I ran inside screaming for Molly to watch it. So my initial reaction to this is excitement. But I have also read the wonderful book Dark Disciple, which was based off of those abandoned Clone Wars episodes, and she dies in that book. So that side of my brain immediately went into overdrive, but the showrunners absolutely knew the diehard fans would react this way, and I'm glad they got out in front of it. On StarWars.com, supervising director and executive producer Brad Rau makes clear that her return will honor prior tales, including the book in which the character apparently perished. We don't want to spoil anything, but want fans to know that any new storytelling with Ventress will align with the events of Star Wars Dark Disciple. The official databank was also updated to say Ventress sacrificed herself to save Quinlan's life, taking the brunt of Dooku's Force lightning during their final confrontation. But that wasn't the end of Asajj's story. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see what's truly in store for Asajj, but I'm happy enough to read that quote from Rau. They're not ignoring the book or anything like that. I am still rolling my eyes a bit at the fact that another dead character is coming back. That's always going to be met with skepticism from me, but at least Asajj comes from a culture where resurrecting the dead isn't out of the question. Or this could be from a flashback sequence, but I personally think she will be back among the living again. I'm preparing myself for this to be like when Ornfree Ta got shot in the head in Season 1 of The Bad Batch. Those of us who read Lords of the Sith were like, he's still supposed to be alive later. And then the next episode had a quick line about how he was recovering from a headshot, but whatever. Most people watching The Bad Batch will not have read Dark Disciple, but they more likely watched The Clone Wars and will be excited to see her again. Despite my love for that book, I was still excited to see her again, so they may not address her survival much on screen, but for those of us who care about the answer, they probably will provide us with something. Basically, I think they're going to try to balance appeasing book fans without stopping the show dead in its tracks to have Asajj explain how she died and then a young Night Sister named Marin resurrected her so she could go find her boyfriend, Quinlan Voss. That said, I do hope Quinlan makes an appearance as well. That would be a great way to more than acknowledge Dark Disciple, and it would be great to see them working together during the reign of the Empire, and it could mean that Asajj helps out the Hidden Path, since Obi-Wan Kenobi established that Quinlan was part of the group. But I'm getting way ahead of myself. My point is, let's not grab the pitchforks and torches right away. We've seen a matter of seconds of this story. If they assure us that they're not erasing Dark Disciple, I will take them at their word. We will cross this bridge when the episode appears. Speaking of, the entire schedule has been released on StarWars.com. 15 episodes will release over the course of 11 weeks, starting on February 21st and taking us all the way to May 1st. During that time, you can expect our normal review episodes and live stream discussions on the channel, and on Patreon, we'll have our video reactions and audio commentaries for every episode. Until then, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.